All right, welcome back everybody to Beauty Calls. I'm Dr. Z, and today we have a special guest calling in from Arizona. This is Spencer Aiken. He's a certified sport and conditioning specialist. He's been in the industry for a long time. I've seen lots about him online, and know that he's a wealth of knowledge in the industry. And of course, at Beauty Calls, we are very interested in all things beauty, physical, non physical, health, wellness, and improving ourselves. So I'd like to welcome Spencer and thank you for being here to chat with me.
Thank you. It's very good to be here.
I appreciate it. So I always like to get a little bit of background from our guests so people know who's speaking and what kind of authority they have. I know you've been involved with fitness for a long time, but tell me kind of how you got into being a conditioning specialist and how things have transformed in your career. Basically, what are you up to these days?
Okay, absolutely. Well, my story begins with not being the most athletically gifted athlete, but wanting to continue my playing career after uh, high school with the random, never going to happen goal of making the NFL and/or NBA. If you grew up playing sports, you probably have some form of becoming a professional athlete goal in mind. But didn't work out. Anyway, so I wanted to continue after high school because I enjoyed playing football. So I wanted to play in college and realized at the time, this is 30 years ago, there wasn't necessarily the most performance based training methodology.
Mm-hmm.
Where back then it was train like a bodybuilder. They know how to get big, they know how to be strong. So we trained like that for a lot of parts. You know, it was just like, hey, let's just learn how to get really strong and really big. Now, that led to me being the strongest I've ever been, potentially having the most power I've ever been, but not necessarily the most athletic, in control athlete I've ever been. I actually developed to the point where I didn't really, my body moved faster than it knew how to stop. So, come senior year in college, I blew out my ACL, had to rehab it and pretty much rehab it on my own because of politics of university situations. I didn't get to use their facilities because I didn't use their surgeon. I had the opportunity to go to a more qualified surgeon who was the team doctor for the San Diego Chargers at the time. And you don't turn down an opportunity like that. You go to the best. When you care about your body, you want to find the best. So I did that, which led to me having to sort of figure out on my own rehab procedures for doing an ACL reconstruction. So, luckily enough for me, my surgeon and my friend who was the team doctor for the Chargers, who had the knowledge to say, this is what you need to focus on. So, I started realizing there are better ways to help treat the body, better methodologies for performance enhancement, as far as better ways to learn how to decelerate, better ways to learn about force production, better ways to control our body, better ways to improve our balance. I then, a year later, tore my other ACL because I hadn't really figured everything out yet. So there are methodologies for learning how to control balance. There are methodologies for learning how to improve our stability. There's methodologies for learning how to improve the way that we move and the way that we decelerate and accelerate. I didn't know those just quite yet. But I've spent the last 30 years trying to figure out the best methodology, mostly selfishly, trying to keep myself from getting injured again, but I want to figure out how do we best improve ourselves, not necessarily just how we look in the mirror, but as we age, we want a few things. We want to look better. Absolutely. Everyone wants to look in the mirror and go, I like what I see. However, we also want to feel better. We want to wake up pain free and not have daily aches and pains. We
Right,
also
that's
want to
huge.
move better without having the aches and pains of just getting up out of a chair is hard work. So, those are the three main goals of adults and most generalized people as far as what they want to achieve in life. So, I've been on a mission to try to figure out how do we best incorporate all those while overcoming my own personal bad luck of injury history, in that I've dislocated my left ankle 3 times. I've probably sprained both my ankles at least 5 times per where I was on crutches, blown up both my ACLs, been in multiple car accidents, been lucky enough or unfortunate enough to actually slice my head open a few times where I actually could touch my skull with my finger, looking in the mirror like this and going, oh, wow, yeah, that needs stitches. I've done that twice in my life. Sliced open my elbow so bad that I was actually like, yeah, that probably needs some work right there, and touched my actual elbow bone. So I have a myriad of injuries that should limit my ability, but I'm nearing 50 years old. I feel better. I have the capabilities of doing anything that I set about doing for the day. I'm stronger now than I've ever really truly been. I have better range of motion and overall better days than when I was 30. And that comes from understanding how we need our body to be prepared. And if we do that, exercise doesn't need to be boring. A healthy lifestyle doesn't need to be boring. We do not need the monotony of eating fish and asparagus every day, like bodybuilders tell their clients, hey, eat this and you'll lose weight and you'll be in amazing shape, but you're going to be miserable the entire time. So there's a methodology for improving your appearance, improving your ability to move, doing it while you enjoy the foods that you like, and still optimizing your overall life and performance, which is what we want to do. We want to be able to make it to the grave going, ooh, tomorrow I want to go do this, and not have to say, yeah, my shoulder won't allow that, or my neck pain prevents that. That's what life really is. It's about being able to do the activities we either decide to do or we're invited to do.
Wow, that's a lot there, and that's amazing. That's exactly what we all want, and we'll try to talk about some of each of those because that's what everybody wants to know. How can I be healthy, live longer, but more importantly than live longer, live better, right? Live to where you can do the things that you want to do with the people that you love, and so I hope we can get into all of that stuff. How do you help people do that from in a day to day? Are you one-on-one training? Are you involved in courses or online education? What's your main avenue for getting those messages out?
There's 2 avenues that I pursue and actively target. I work with adults who I personally am their fitness coach, personal trainer. So adults need everything that I just mentioned. So part of my background was as a educator working in a vocational school helping personal trainers get certified as personal trainers to then become certified personal trainers and work with various populations. Okay, so I own an educational school called Stronger Together Education Academy, where I do teach personal trainers or just anyone who wants to learn more how and whys and the what's of becoming a certified personal trainer. All right. So I work with those individuals who then work with adults, and I personally work with adults so that they can improve their balance and they can improve their overall appearance and their overall abilities. I also, through secondary methods, I was teaching personal trainers how to work with adults mostly, and realizing that by the time a lot of adults are the age of adults, the age of working adults, where they're in their 30s, they're kind of on the decline a little bit, they're sedentary, they don't have the energy. I realize that they're kind of set in their ways. So, who can we approach to have a larger footprint to help more people? And the answer to that is physical education teachers. Physical education teachers in elementary school, middle school, and high school have the audience of 30 to 250 kids per day who are young enough to not start and form bad habits, who are malleable enough to where you give them some information and they retain it very quickly, and you can teach them a skill and the knowledge that they can use for the rest of their life. So I started teaching physical education teachers the skills of fitness based PE, which is teaching. Six skills of physical literacy is what we have. We have the ability to move, we have strength, we have balance, we have the ability to stabilize stability, we have flexibility, and then we also have the skill of targeting, which is knowing where stuff is around us. The reason we can touch our fingers without having to look, right? We can walk and place our feet at approximately the same distance apart without looking down. Those are all skills of targeting.
Proprioception. Yeah,
So we,
proprioception. So there's so many things there, and we know that our bodies are like super intricate, right?
right,
Complicated organisms, and like most complicated things in life, it's not just one thing that gives you the end result. It's going to be a big mixture of nutrition,
right,
diet, and exercise, and how you move, and how you treat your joints, etc. And when you're looking eh, online or when you talk to people at the local gym, everyone seems to have like their magic bullet, which we know we don't believe, but
right.
there's people pushing it, probably just for financial gain. But it doesn't matter if you work out as long as you eat XYZ, or it doesn't matter what you eat, just walk so many steps a day, and,
Yeah.
and we know that's not true. But if you're trying to get somebody optimized, you need a starting point. You can't overload them with all this stuff that they have to do or they won't succeed, in my opinion. So, where do you start? Like someone who says, "Look, I'm 50, my body's sore and achy every morning when I get up. I feel like I eat decent, but my, I got fat where I don't want it, et cetera, et cetera." What's your just basic starting point? Like someone wants to work with you, what's the first thing you do with them?
We start with movement. How well can you move? Are you experiencing any pain with that movement? Let's get the pain to subside and get eliminated so you don't feel that. And now let's increase how far you can move. So, a lot of times as we age, we get the use it or lose it mentality of our body. We don't squat down as low as we possibly can or could when we were 10. So now we lose the ability. The whole getting up out of the chair and you kind of give the old groan, ugh, we shouldn't be doing that, but we do because we experience discomfort as we're doing this. So, the first and foremost, most important thing that everyone really truly needs to do is just start moving. Move through your capable range of motions, move through your comfortable movements, and then try and go a little and farther every time you do it because you're getting strength training because the muscles will contract, you're getting flexibility improvement. You're starting to realize how to control your body because while your mind's doing something and maybe you're thinking about your taxes or what you have to do on Saturday, your brain is starting to learn how to coordinate multiple things at the same time, which leads to the improvement of brain capacity, your cognitive skills, but also you don't want to have to think about certain skills while you're doing it. Like I can move my hands back as far as I can and I can touch the wall without having to look at the wall. That is a cognitive brain skill that our body will sense that stretch, tighten up the muscles and allow for an easy movement pattern. So, easy answer is start to move. Figure out the methods that you can do and apply to move pain free because everyone's a little bit different. Everyone has a slightly different stance for squats or a slightly different push up position. But we are all smart enough to realize this feels uncomfortable or this feels really good and natural. The problem is we try and put every round peg into a square hole, and not everyone applies that way. So we have to help individuals learn, find out where it's the most comfortable, and you're going to do that more often because it's not uncomfortable. Our joints shouldn't be hurting. Our muscles should not be constantly inflamed, but we've been taught that just go do it. Everyone's the same, everyone will squat the same, and that's simply not the way it is. Everyone will be slightly different, and we allow people to practice more before we say, hey, just go do it. Learn, practice, master is what we tell a lot of our kids and our adults is learn it, practice it, master it, and you'll find the groove of what feels best for you.
Hmm. That's great advice. I know from personal experience, I don't have any joint problems or arthritis, but I don't have the flexibility that I used to when I was a kid, obviously. We don't do those kind of squats just, in the middle of the floor, just trying to do something on the ground. You
Right?
get tight. Your tendons get tight. Your joint capsules get tight. And so you just stick to the movements that you can do without pain. So
Yep.
I think that's a great point. Starting out with movement, just moving. Let's say stretching,
Yep.
flexibility exercises. When's the best time to do those things? Do you recommend people like throughout the rest of their lives, like wake up and stretch in the morning, or do you do
So
it before bed?
not my quote, and I don't know who said it, but the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is today. So we keep thinking, we have the mentality of two different thought processes. I can't do it like I used to do it, and I can't do it how I want to be able to do it. But two of those, both of those, can be overcome by simply starting today at the point you're at and going forward. We are sort of marketed towards that if we are not magazine worthy of being the bodybuilder in the magazine or what everybody looks up to, and social media influence doesn't help because we see all those people looking spectacularly. Oh, well, this person can do that. I can't do that. So that's not necessarily your goal. And also, you don't know what they're necessarily doing to get there. A, possibly illegal substances. B, possibly super restrictive diets that are unhealthy. Some of the most unhealthy people were bodybuilders that I know who were about to go on stage chain smoking cigarettes so that they weren't hungry. Not necessarily the healthiest methodology. So
Yeah,
start
or
today.
dehydrating themselves to death, right?
Yep. Yep. And if you
Well,
start today, you'll be farther along on your journey tomorrow. We tell everyone it's your fitness journey. You may diverge into different directions and on a different path from time to time. I'm on a path right now that I wasn't on 20 years ago. I enjoy this path. I love what I get to do. However, if I realized in, say, 2 to 5 years it wasn't serving my purpose, I would shift in a different direction. We have to be able to realize this is what my body is telling me, and I want to go and do that. I don't need to
mhm,
lift as heavy as I used to. I don't enjoy that as much. My body loves to feel better and some of the strain of weights on my back as I'm doing squats, but it's not a necessary requirement for everyone to do heavy squats. Everyone is different. Allow your body to tell you what feels good and then go do those movements. There are seven essential movements of human life, and if we perform them, we're going to be good to go. I can list them for you. They're squats, lunges, presses, pulls, rotations, carries, and hinges. Those seven movements we do in our daily life without even realizing. Getting up out of a chair is a squat and a hinge combination. Carrying baggage and like groceries is carries, farmer walks.
mhm.
Pushing something away or pulling something towards us, those are your presses and your pulls. Lunging to pick up our child is a lunge. So the exercise names a lot of times mimic the movements of human life. With simple and easy naming, let's name
Got
it
it.
after what the movement's called. So if we perform those are mimicking what our actual daily lives entails. We'll get stronger and things get easier. One of the best compliments I've ever gotten from clients, and I've had it from multiple clients. I work with some of the older population, 60 and above, and we do a lot of mobility stuff on the floor to just feel better. The quote is, "Getting up off the floor is easier now because of the exercises we're doing." I mean, how hard is it for us to get up off of our knees when we're on the carpet playing with our kids and grandkids, and then we have to get up and it's it's like a full endeavor exercise. If we
Hmm.
can make that easier for people, which the answer is we can, then we're serving our people properly.
So the number one message you're saying is start today. Absolutely, I agree with that. I was just real quick wanting to ask specifically about improving mobility and stretching. Is there an optimal time of day when we should be practicing those things? Is it best first thing in the morning when
First thing in the
cortisol levels are high? Is it better when we've been warmed up and our muscles are a little bit looser?
You're gonna find that there's different times that apply to what you're really truly trying to achieve. Okay, so to answer your question, the best time is after you have been slightly active so that you can really work through your full range of motion safely. The key being safely. When we wake up first thing in the morning, we're not necessarily warmed up and or ready to perform at our best. However, stretches help to wake the brain up, help to get us prepared, and do help in a very positive manner set the tone for our body to understand it's going to be performing during the day. However, we're not going to be moving through a series of movements to our utmost potential because we're not warmed up. If you have 10 to 15 minutes during the morning routine, then yes, take 5 minutes to kind of slowly get the heart going, get the breathing elevated, get your muscles a little bit more pliable like a rubber band, kind of stretch it out. Do some easy dynamic warm ups, and then once after about 5 to 10 minutes, you're breathing slightly elevated, your heart rate is up. Now you're ready to work through your full range of motion. So
Gotcha.
starting your morning like that absolutely is amazing. During your day, if you are warmed up during your exercises, like you go to the gym and you do your workout, now is the ultimate time to actually work through the full range of motion so that you ensure your movements are to the best possible capabilities of your body. Now, since we mentioned it, at night, nighttime is the best for calming stretches. Your more static stretches, your more hamstring stretch and quad stretch to soothe the body because it's been stressed out all day. So there are different times where certain things make more sense, but anytime is a great time to just stand up, stretch. You get up out of the car after a long drive, what do we typically do? We stand up, we lean back, stretch out. Those are all amazing. If we did those throughout the day, we're seeing some improvement, we're getting better, but any time of the day that you can really focus on getting 10 to 15 minutes of slow warm up, then work into the body of the movements where you're working through your full range of motion, you're going to see improvement and they're going to have benefit.
Got it. Okay. So first and foremost is the movement. What do you take as step number two in consultation?
uh, Step number two is goal driven. What do you want to achieve with your body on your fitness journey? So everyone is slightly different. Some people have zero desire to add muscle mass. Some people it's all about increasing their lean body mass, their muscle size. Now, what do you want to achieve? Because ultimately it is your fitness journey. Everyone needs to move better, but then everyone needs to be specific towards what they're trying to achieve. Too many people look at other people and say, oh, well, I see that person doing that. I want to go do that. Well, is that in the best avenue or path towards what you want to achieve? Not everyone needs to squat. We see far too many people who are not ready for deadlifts, who don't have the flexibility or the capabilities to truly do it safe, but see people doing deadlifts and say, oh, well, that's for me. Well, maybe, but we have to get ready for it. Now, the question becomes, is picking up heavy objects off the floor part of your daily life, something you want to get good at, or do you see it helping your daily life? So we create in our head what we want to achieve because we saw someone else doing it, but that's not really what is ideal for what we want to achieve. So we're sort of misguiding ourselves on, I want to do this, when in actuality, we should be training this to help us get there. So goal specific on what you want to achieve. And especially if you're doing something and you hate it, you don't need to do it. Too many people do burpees and hate burpees. Too many
Right.
people think that they have to do this because it's what is natural to them. Not everyone needs to go to a gym to work out. There are so many activities we can do for our health and our fitness that it doesn't entail always just going to the gym and doing bicep curls because that's what we've been led to over the last 25 years.
It in general, if you're trying to improve your body's health, you're not looking for a specific sport centered physique or performance, um, but you just want to be uh, have healthy bones and joints and muscles and be in the kind of shape that'll let you do whatever you want to do on a day-to-day basis. Um, is what types of activities or exercise are most important if you had to pick? Is it cardio? Is it walking? Is it weight lifting? Is
If
it
I had to choose one
plyometrics?
activity to the detriment of not allowing other things, because the best is a wide variety of options. However, strength training in and of itself, those benefits you achieve from strength training are the closest to achieving everything. So, strength training does help with balance. It helps with becoming stronger. It will help improve your cardiovascular fitness. It will help improve your respiratory fitness. It will help improve your ability to move. It will help improve your flexibility. And it simply allows for a greater encompassing of benefits than any activity I can really think of. There may be one or two that escape my mind at this time, but most likely, probably not on an overall scale. Walking is amazing for your cardiovascular fitness, your respiratory fitness, but not much for your strength. Not much for flexibility as far as being able to move through full ranges of motion. Sports are great for cardio, respiratory, maybe cognitive brain function because you have to be reactive and thinking at all times. To some degree, there's some strength training, but are you getting flexibility, real true variations in your movement patterns? Because baseball is pretty limited on its movement patterns. You have rotational for hitting, lateral for fielding, and then short burst sprints for running the bases and making a play in the outfield. Not a whole lot of variation in there. No squatting, really, no lunging, no pressing, no pulling. So a limited movement pattern. Strength training in and of itself and the 7 basic human movements, incorporating those into your strength training allows for the greatest overall approach to
If you're
encompassing as
picking
many
one
goals as
thing.
we're trying.
And when you're talking strength training, is there an advantage of doing weightlifting versus body weight, like plyometric type exercises? Is one better than the other?
Uh, the one that you enjoy.
The one
Okay.
that you enjoy?
So people add weight because the external factors allow for greater improvement. To some degree, we will run out of overload, meaning the ability for our body to get stimulated. We're going to run out of overload when we're just doing body weight. Now, that doesn't mean it happens right away, but eventually, if we're doing 50 push ups, how are we going to make it more difficult? Do faster push ups, slower push ups, or more push ups? Now,
And those are viable options, right?
those are absolutely viable options. However, how much slower can we go? How much longer can we take? How many more reps can we do? The easiest thing to do would be to do the movement that is a push up and add weight in a manner in which we're applying it just like a push up which would be a dumbbell bench press. It is much easier to apply weight to where we're not doing a
200
2 to 3 minute set.
repetitions.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. Eventually it
And
becomes so time consuming.
I've seen people who are proponents of using like bands, instead of actual free weights.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. They're a great method. They have the external factor. They do provide resistance. They can be an easy stimuli to apply that are very easy. They're very travelable. So people love taking bands on their vacations. They're easy to do anywhere. You just need a generally a door, a window, or a squat rack to tie it off onto. They're also easy on the joints, and you can get that overload stimuli that allows for the adaptation to take place. Bands
and
are
they
amazing.
kind of get progressively more difficult as you get to the peak part
Yep.
of your movement, right?
Yep. So the longer that band stretches, there's two methodologies with bands: longer stretching or a more intense, thicker tube. So the thicker tube obviously is going to be harder to pull. The farther and longer that you stretch the band, the more resistance is being applied. So, using common sense, I need to go a little heavier in the resistance of my band, or I need to stretch a little bit farther, and you will continually, every inch that you move farther becomes progressively more intense.
Hmm. Absolutely. Cool. And then let's, if you can, tell me a little bit about your diet approach.
Um, One thing that matters, there's really truly, when it all boils down to one thing that matters. Health is something different, so let's get that off the table. Health and your diet are related, but they're not the same thing. What is your calorie consumption? Everyone wants to know, but too many people are marketed towards and sold one thing that is this end all be all cure for their overweight lifestyle. When it comes down to this, are you eating more than you need, the right amount, or not enough? Kind of the Goldilocks approach. Too many people eat more calories than they account for and then go to a drastic diet, fad diet, keto being popular now. I'm not saying I'm anti keto, because what it does right is it will help you to monitor the foods you're eating, because too many people mindlessly eat, overconsume, and then question why they can't lose weight. If you understand how many calories your body is using on a daily basis and then eat to that amount, slightly less if you're trying to lose weight, slightly more if you're trying to add muscle, somewhere 2 to 500 calories more surplus if you're trying to add muscle size and or hypertrophy, increasing your muscles, your lean body mass. If you do those things, you will succeed. However, those aren't quick fixes. Those are lifestyle changes. We're a microwave society where we want instant gratification. If it doesn't change the scale in 3 days, I'm not happy. Our
Hmm.
body doesn't work like that. So focus on your calorie consumption. Then, once you start to realize how many calories you actually eat in a day, then start to realize and make smarter choices for those calories. You can eat pizza if you want. Pizza is just very high in calories. So, how many calories are you getting from those slices of pizza? You can eat dessert. How many calories are you getting? Monitor those numbers, then you're never restricted. You simply can't possibly eat as much as you really truly want to, but you're not going to live a lifestyle that is miserable because you can't eat certain foods. No one should walk through life hating what they're doing, then show up at 90 years old going, "Hey, I wish I would have had that piece of birthday cake on my wife's 65th birthday. I couldn't because I was overweight." If we monitor and pay attention, most of the time it just means pay attention. Never restrict, never be miserable, but pay attention to how much you're actually eating on a daily basis, and you're going to set yourself up for success.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people can get a little bit overboard with the calorie counting in a way that is very unnatural. You know what I
Yes.
mean? like weighing out everything that you eat, and this many ounces of cereal. I mean, it's important. And if you're you know, a serious athlete or a bodybuilder and you need to have that level of precision, that's one thing. But for a day to day, but then again, you can't say, well, just eat until you're full and then listen
Yeah.
to your body and stop,
We don't.
because we don't,
Easy
number one.
measurements is an avenue to pursue. So they say the size of the fist for certain things, size of a deck of cards for certain things. Now, part of this is trial and error and practice, because no one really wants to eat the same things over and over and over and over again, because there's boredom to that. However, that doesn't mean you
Unless it
can't
is
find
pizza.
the foods you really enjoy and then eat to those foods on the numbers that make sense.
Hmm.
So,
So that's a complicated thing, and everyone's going to be different in what they are going to tolerate diet wise. But I think it's probably the most important thing, because you're talking about actual storage of calories, and
yep,
you can't lose weight. You can't be optimized unless you have the right balance. And I think also, when you said separating health from diet is important, because you could eat the right number of calories a day, but if they're all purely sugar,
yep.
that's not going to be the best for your health either.
Exactly. So there was a gentleman that I don't have this study access available, and I don't have the specifics, but he ate Twinkies and Oreos for 6 months, I want to say, maybe 3 months or something, and he lost weight. Now, great, you lost weight, so the scale number's better, but what are your blood work numbers? Not
Right.
enough people do blood work 6 months, every 6 months, or every year. I just got mine 2 weeks ago, and I love it when my doctor tells me, wow, everything looks spectacular. Those are good things to understand. We
Hmm.
also were partially misled and lied to that eating certain foods like red meats are bad for you. They don't increase your cholesterol. So we were sort of misled on that avenue. However, if you have your blood work taken about every 6 months to a year, you'll understand whether or not you're really internally healthy. And then you can start to realize the foods that I was eating are better for me based off of those. And then the numbers that I'm eating, I get to choose the foods that I enjoy. I'm going to eat those to about the numbers, because it's not a precise I have to eat 2,000 calories, because some days I might be more active. Like, for example, on a Saturday, I have to do all kinds of yard work. I have to clean out the garage. I have to move a bunch of storage boxes. My activity went up, which means I get to eat a little bit more if I so choose. So it's not like every day is going to be at 2,000. The
Hmm.
problem is we have people who eat 3,000 every day. Then they go, oh, I worked a little bit today in the yard, I'm going to eat a little bit more. And they eat to
Yeah.
4,000. And if they would have been around 2,200, 25, maybe even 1,800 because they weren't that hungry, now they're on a recipe for success, versus I'm going to be 2 pounds heavier every year for the next 30 years. And the next thing you know, I'm 60 to 80 pounds heavier than I was when I was 20.
Hmm.
Weight loss, weight gain doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time consistently.
Same as weight loss, right?
Yep, exactly. So too many people think the scale number is an indicator of actual weight. But if I'm retaining a bunch of water, I weigh in the morning, I weigh in the evening, I'll have three different numbers. Slowly but surely, 1% a day, 1% a week, or 1% of your body weight a week is a good easy number. 2 to 3 pounds is your goal for weight loss. If your weight is going up 1 to 2 pounds a week, now you need to monitor your overall total consumption. So everyone is saying, oh, I don't want to track calories. You don't have to track and write down everything. But if you can remember approximately what you ate for the last 7 days, which everyone really can, and if your weight went up, you weighed in on a Sunday, weighed in next Sunday, and your weight went up 2 pounds, and you think back to what you did. Now, 1 week, no big deal. But if it keeps doing that, now you're going to realize you have to make some change. And it's easy to make a change when it doesn't have to be a hard and fast, cold turkey cessation of something.
Right.
Monitor
That's not
and
sustainable.
tweak.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, if you got time, I'd like to ask you one other thing, and that's about supplements.
Okay.
And so everyone is interested in the the magic potion, the silver bullet, the thing that's going to just I take this pill and then it solves all my problems. We know that doesn't exist, but are there any things that in your experience that you've come across that you think are effective supplements, whether they're natural or not, that people should strongly consider taking either for anti-inflammation and improvement of their overall body's homeostasis, or for weight loss. I mean, what's your take on that? Or do we not need any of that garbage if you're just moving and eating well?
Uh, Most likely, everyone needs something. All right. So a lot of people will say, "Hey, eat your fruits and vegetables, and you're going to get all your vitamins and minerals." It doesn't necessarily equate to that. Fruits and vegetables are great, but mostly fruits and vegetables keep us from overeating because they fill up our stomach, right? So eating broccoli is good for you. I live here in Yuma where we produce broccoli, so I shouldn't be anti-vegetable. But they're mostly for feeling a full. Okay. The calories we get versus the amount of space it takes up in our stomach is the reason we eat our vegetables. So we do get vitamins and minerals from that. But all right, so what should we be taking? I, for the most part, would prescribe. Trying to think if there's a fourth. There's three things that I can tell you that everyone needs. Creatine. Creatine helps with energy production and cognitive brain function, potentially limiting the potential for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, two very bad diseases that I wish we had a cure for. So if creatine can do stuff to help prevent that, absolutely. But most importantly, creatine on a daily basis to help with our energy will make our and help our body feel better and fresher. Okay. Some
So
people say
once a
to
day,
create.
like a powder,
What's that?
once a
Once
day
a day,
powder.
5 milligrams a day in powder. Some people like to mix it in a citric juice because they say it improves the absorbent bioavailability. I'm lazy and I just take a scoop and dump it and then take a drink of water. Sometimes when you start early in the morning, you don't really want to waste your time drinking pineapple
Are
juice.
are there any adverse effects of creatine supplementation,
The
or
most studied supplement in the history of the world without any product and any replication of harmful side effects.
I remember hearing about, you take too much, it's bad for your kidneys. You
So,
can't.
mislabeled based on what they were taking and how they were doing it. That's also why we say 5 milligrams or 5 grams a day. So you can overdo anything. There was a time and place where ephedrine was legal, and then they banned ephedrine because unfortunately a person passed away from it. And then they found out everything that he was taking based off of that because he was trying to study for college exams, taking this, and this. Well, is ephedrine the reason for it? I mean, it didn't hurt, but it didn't help. So you got to place the blame where it really lies. Usually it's user end. So creatine, as far as doing and taking as it's recommended, there's never been a replicable study saying this will lead to that.
How about
Originally,
age
what's
limits?
that?
How about age limits?
Uh, Creatine is freely flowing in the body or freely formed in the body, so I've never seen any study saying you should not take it at any,
Even as an adolescent?
even as an adolescent. I have young youth athletes who are 12 years old who I recommend creatine for everybody. It's a freely flowing compound in the body that we're just trying to maximize our storage capabilities.
And
Okay, it's
produce
like
more energy.
oxygen. You could
Yeah,
take too much oxygen, but what's the likelihood that that's going to be the cause of something?
right.
Uh,
Okay, so that's number one.
then we have vitamin D. Contrary to what we were told, getting the vitamin D from the sun doesn't necessarily, your skin will produce vitamin D, but it won't reabsorb very well back into the body. So we really truly don't get the vitamin D that we need. So I highly recommend for everybody vitamin D in a liquid and or spray format. When we take these big horse pills, the body will absorb it to some degree, and then we have expensive urine because the body will only break down a little bit what it needs, and then the liver and the kidney will filter everything out, and next thing you know, it's out the system.
Mhm.
Liquid and or spray form allows it to enter into the bloodstream easier where it can be used, bioavailability. And if you're not using it, you're getting expensive urine. So vitamin D helps with our joints, helps with our swelling, it helps with our mood. That's why it's called the happy vitamin. Okay. And so everyone that I know of, and everyone I recommend to, and everyone who I want to feel better and is important in my life, I recommend vitamin D. And then lastly, everyone should be taking magnesium. Magnesium has such a high level of usage in our body that we want to maximize the amount of vitamin or magnesium that we're taking.
Mhm.
We simply have over 300 processes in our body that rely on magnesium. So, maximizing how and what we can do with that. And it does help with muscle soreness, which everyone who works out has experienced muscle soreness that sometimes is a little bit too much. And it does help with muscle repair and function. So, magnesium is highly important for a bunch of people.
I'm huge on magnesium myself, and I think helps with your gut, helps with your skin, helps with your cognitive function, and we don't
Absolutely.
really get it much in our um, current civilization. We don't have a lot of magnesium, especially now
Yes.
that it's out of water.
Yep. So if you can try and get it in liquid form, there are sprays for magnesium, but there's also gel caps. A gel cap is a viable alternative to a spray if it doesn't come in a spray because the gel, once the gelatin evaporates, the bottle, the little pill opens up. You're essentially getting it in liquid form to the best of our body's ability. So magnesium is also very amazing, and I would recommend it for everyone.
I usually add one important thing, and I don't know if this is maybe what your number four would be, but omega-3 fatty acids.
Yes, to some degree. The question becomes: Are what's your diet like? So there are people who get enough omegas in their diet. So omegas are very beneficial. However, what format are you taking it in? I generally don't. Okay, I have highly recommend omega threes and sixes. Not everyone needs them. However, most people should. But then it comes down to also, are you comfortable with the amount that you're taking because they lead to a lot of the what we call fish burps where people kind of just feel like they always have to kind of burp. The pills that they get for omega 3s and 6s aren't necessarily the best. Once again, I do recommend trying to find it in a liquid format as best as possible. So if you are not getting enough of your
Fish and
D3s
stuff.
and
Yeah,
6s, your fishes and your avocados and your foods like that, then yes, it definitely needs to be added. So that would be the fourth based on dietary consumption.
got it. Well, there's a lot there.
Well, thank you.
You're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really interested in all of that stuff, and especially nutrition. You can see this whole shelf back here is about nutrition
Yep.
because you'll read a book. Someone will give you anecdotal evidence with maybe a little bit of science mixed in about how being a vegan is the best thing ever. When I
Right.
stopped eating animal products, my inflammation went down, my joints felt better, my cholesterol went down, and I'm living my best life ever just by being vegan. And then the book right next to it's talking about carnivore diet. And when he went strict carnivore, joint pain went away, skin looked better, sleep is better. So it's very confusing to the consumer because, it's like you get so much mixed messaging out there,
Yeah.
and you just have to believe that the answer is somewhere in the middle. But finding that is hard hard to do.
Yes. That's so as someone who has done carnivore and as someone who is living a mostly carnivore life, I tell people I'm 90% carnivore. I don't restrict. If I want to go eat something, I go eat it. Like case in point, last night I had 3 cookies. three big cookies, and I felt amazing, and I left it, and I have zero regrets. And I woke up this morning, and I felt great, happy, and smiling. And I will never look back on a food and be like, "Oh my God, I can't eat that." But I'm 90% carnivore because, and I do feel better. It's the foods I choose to eat that make me happy that prevent me from overeating too many calories. So I eat a lot of ground beef and chicken, a little bit of fish, ground turkey. I love meatballs, very simple and easy. I'm at work all day long. It's easy to just have, 3 to 5 meatballs and satisfy my hunger cravings so that I don't go home and eat a poor choice
Carbs.
of food.
Yeah, a bunch of carbs and stuff. Um, and I think vegetables and fruits can be good for you, but one of the problems is where we're getting them from these days and what's in them
Yep.
is causing a lot of health problems for people
Yeah.
too.
So we have to
Pesticide.
we need to understand our food sources better. Meaning what is going through the growth process? Are they grown as best as possible? Are they shipped healthy? Are we getting them fresh? Are there any additives that don't necessarily need to be there? And all of those pros problems as our food choices need to be as best as possible, and we'll be better off if we do that.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, Spencer, I really appreciate all the great information that you've shared with us. And before we go, I do want to ask you two things. Number one, because I ask everybody, is the tough question. What's your definition of beauty?
My definition of beauty is, do you wake up every morning happy with the person that is living in the skin of which you are? So, there is no ideal because I have never met anyone in my 30 plus years of working with people who has looked in the mirror and said, "Yep, this is good. This is perfect. I don't need to work on anything." So once we start to realize that, if we look at our imperfections as perfectly perfect for us, we'll be much happier. If everything that we do is in a goal or pursuit of achieving better and not perfect, we're going to be beautiful inside because we're happier, because what's outside is just the vessel to allow us to live our life.
Amazing. I like that answer.
Thank
And
you.
tell us where people who want to learn more about you can do so, and also potentially work with you if they're looking for some assistance.
So our website is strongertogetheracademy.com. We do have a very active Facebook group, which is also under, it's facebook.com/groups/, Stronger Together Academy. If anyone wants to email me, it's my name, Spencer@spenceraiken.com. We love to have interaction from people because, as we've expressed here, there are so many people getting confused on mixed messages
Absolutely.
because the people sending out the messages are trying to sell something. If we just look at the root answer, the answer is right in front of us the whole time.
You got it. Well, Spencer, it's been great. I appreciate all that you have shared with us and your time. I know I've learned a lot, and I'm excited about implementing first and foremost some more stretching into my daily routine. I think it's going to help right away.
Absolutely. I'll send you a link to some of the mobility. We have a program we use with our kids to help develop body control. That through experience practice, we realize our older clients love doing it. It's the movements that I told you that people said it's easier to get off the floor now. I'll send you a link to that, and you can start to play around with those and start to see how just simple, easy movements help us move better and feel better. I'll send you that link in
That would
afterward.
be great. Just real quick, I saw a YouTube video once with this guy. He was like a business person in his 30s or early 40s, and he was being interviewed. And he said the one thing that has changed his life completely more than anything else has been stretching and improving his flexibility. He's like works on it like an hour a day, and he says he couldn't live without it. And I was like, how can stretching change your entire life? But
Because if you have lower back pain and neck pain, nothing is ever the same. The most debilitating injury that you can have that people tell you just to suck it up is lower back pain.
yeah, oh yeah,
Imagine everything that you do, from getting up off the toilet to sitting at your desk to driving to getting up out of bed to playing with your kids. Imagine if every time you did that, your level of pain was between a 3 and a 7. Eventually, it wears you down and it breaks you down. Now, stretching.
I've been there.
If
Yeah,
we
I've
loosen up
been
our hamstrings, does it help our lower back? There's a very good likelihood that it helps loosen up our lower back, because our hamstrings are tied to our glutes, which are tied to the lower back erector muscles known as the posterior chain. Stretching the hamstrings through various stretches and mobility drills can loosen up the lower back. I learned that when I was in my chiropractic days working for a chiropractor as an exercise physiologist. We can reduce and eliminate pain in the body from using and stretching other parts of our body, because we're all one big unit. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You are
I
very welcome.
hope you have a great rest of your day today. Um, and I'm going to put your information in the description below and probably across the screen too, so that everybody knows how they can find out more about you or get in touch.
Perfect. That'll work.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Spencer.
All
Hope
right.
to talk again.
Are we still recording? Because I have a recommendation for you. You don't have to
Absolutely.
record. If you have